Reports on Africa are mentally, financially, emotionally, and morally exhausting. It is the perennial story full of misconstrued beliefs of Africa, seen as one large country with several villages, depicting a people descending from brutal and hopeless backgrounds. The bleak tale of the African child, plagued by starvation, disease, and illiteracy, tyranny, cannibalism, plundered lands, war, and an overall inferior race. This is what is depicted of Africa. But this is the Africa that we live in, that I live in, and that we all love. For 5 days at Gigiri, 20 minutes out of the Kenyan capital of Nairobi, 230 young participants from across Eastern Africa and Norway converged at the United Nations offices in Nairobi from the 31st July to the 4th of August to discuss and set forth the youth agenda in fulfilling their human rights in achieving the Millennium Development Goals. The East African Regional Model United Nations is a simulation of the United Nations. It is a tool to promote understanding of international diplomacy and politics and good governance through participation of young individuals in mock debate sessions.
Number 3. So with that, I think the draft is good, but there's some amendments should be done.
Thank you, Germany.
Each young participant in this year's East African Regional Model United Nations Conference was to take the first step in achieving and serving human dignity in the preparation of proposals to achieve the Millennium Development Goals.
All those against incorporating the amendment, please raise your placards now. All those against incorporating the amendment, please raise your placards.
This year's East Africa Regional Model United Nations, better known as EARmun, began on Tuesday, 31st July 2007. The opening speeches from several guests shared a single reverb: the significant and urgently needed involvement of youth on regional and international issues to race against time to achieve the Millennium Development Goals. This was very eloquently expressed by Mr. Eric Falls, the director of the United Nations Information Center in Nairobi.
Promote gender equality and empower women. MDG 4 is to reduce child mortality.
This was further seconded by Dr. Rihanna Ahmed, a reproductive health specialist with the MDG Center in Nairobi.
It's a race against time, and so each and every one has to participate in ensuring that the Millennium Development Goals are achieved.
As every energy-bustling youth conference is expected to be, EARmun 2007 began in earnest, with 37 simulated delegations representing all 5 continents of the globe. These simulated delegations presented their expectations vis-à-vis their ambassadors through policy statements.
And they can participate in the medical facility. Then if you don't really sensitize the affected person.
Naturally, it was a long and tedious exercise, with eyes wandering across the room, occasional blank gazes, yawns, and once in a while a placard bolted in the air incessantly by a delegate. The days that followed constituted intense debate in separate caucus groups, with each group discussing MDGs 2, which is achieving universal primary education, MDG 3, promoting gender equality and empowering women, MDG 4, reducing infant mortality, and MDG 5, improving maternal health care respectively. The overall objective of each caucus group was to produce a single draft resolution to be presented in the final seating, referred to as the General Assembly.
What shall happen is we shall go to the General Assembly. The General Assembly shall be here in this room. Here we shall have the report.
After 7 hours on a daily basis of debate, it was in order to source refreshments in food, drink, and on Wednesday night of the conference, the cultural night. It was an explosion of Ugandan, Tanzanian, Kenyan, and Norwegian culture. Everyone took the golden opportunity to strut their cultural prowess on the dance floor. The cultural night bore its tales in the morning, but some were worth acknowledging. Celebration of Culture did produce productive debate. The Director Generals, the caucus group moderators, had this to say.
I found it enjoyable after a while, but first I believe that delegates had to familiarize themselves with the rules of procedure. But after that was done, it was actually a lot of fun. People came up, they represented their countries well.
The caucus of gender has been interesting. We haven't had a lot of drama. We've been discussing women empowerment.
After 3 grueling days of debate, a short bout of cultural celebration, the conference drew to a conclusion on Friday, 3rd August 2007. 230 young participants from across 2 continents, successfully yielding 4 comprehensive resolutions on achieving universal primary education, promoting gender equality and empowering women, reducing infant mortality and improving maternal health care, for the submission to the real United Nations General Assembly. It may not seem as much, but in the eyes and hearts of the participants, they realize leadership isn't simply age and vocal delivery, but substance and directed initiative. Every single individual participant devoted themselves fully through the spirit of volunteerism, hope and purpose to build Africa, the home of global hope. Now they will leave and take that initiative and spread the gospel of hope through their deeds in establishing follow-up projects to help fulfill the specific Millennium Development Goals that they discussed.